What's up guys, it's Luke, and this is a tutorial on how to use the free video editing software, Shotcut. We'll cover all the features of the current software to give you everything you need to turn your ideas into cool finished videos. Okay, so topic 1 is what can you do with Shotcut? Let's check out 3 quick clips of videos I made using Shotcut to see what you can do. You could load one video and add text, add a shape like a white box, add pictures, and make a video about a trip that you went on. You can also load multiple videos to make a music collaboration and change up the size and positions of the windows as much as you want. You can also use audio and video effects, like recording video in front of a green screen, then use Shotcut's chroma key to remove the green background and replace it with anything you want. If you don't like this background, no problem. Here's what the finished video looks like. You can use fade-in transitions. You can do audio editing, such as adding reverb. You can pan the audio tracks left and right so the sound is in stereo, and make a Band of Luke's music video. Alright, so let's jump right in and learn how to use Shotcut. And I'll put the agenda in the description with time links so you can quickly navigate to any topic you want to see. Topic 2, how do you get Shotcut? Very easy. If you don't already have it, run a Google search on Download Shotcut, click the first link, go to this page, and run the installer file for your operating system. For me, it's Windows Installer. Topic 3, how to navigate in Shotcut. When you first open Shotcut, there's not a lot to see. They show you if you're running the current version, and if an update is available, you can download it. And they have a list of recent projects that you've worked with. But to get started, we're going to pull a file into the timeline section at the bottom. We can open up File Explorer, and I'm going to drag clip 1 and drop it directly into the timeline section. Shotcut will automatically insert a video track and add your video file to that track. If we go back to File Explorer, there's another way to bring in files. We'll grab clip 2 and drag it and drop it into the preview section, and you can preview a file before you add it to your project. So it starts playing it right away. We can just hit pause, and you can see this center pane has a source tab. That's where you look at your source files and preview them, and then has a project tab which shows you the playback of the project you're working on. We can just drag from the source file into the timeline. If we drag it here and let go, then Shotcut adds the clip about where you dropped it in. If you want to append it, if we hit undo, you can also just click the plus button, which appends it immediately to the end of the prior clip. The line that we see here is called the playhead, like a needle on a record. If we click here in clip 1 and press the play button, it shows us what the video looks like at that point in the clip. So let's go ahead and save our project at this point. We'll hit File, Save As, select the folder we want to save it to, and give it a name. And this will save it as a .mlt file, and if we open it in a text editor, we can see it's just a text file that contains information that Shotcut uses to save your project. Okay, let's look at the layout of the screen, which is organized into panels. You have the center panel, where you can preview a source file before you bring it into the project, or you can view the project as you play it through the timeline. You also have the left panel, you have a right panel, and you have a bottom panel where you can turn on and off, that is, show or hide tools that you use while you work. At the top, we have the usual drop-down menus, and below that we have a ribbon with Open File, Open Other, Save, Undo, Redo. Then the rest of the buttons are those tools that you can turn on and off. You can show or hide each tool at any time. If I click on the Playlist button, it shows the Playlist tool. I can close it by clicking on the X in the right-hand corner. The tools that they give you are the peak meter, shows the volume, properties, which will show you information for the current selected source file. So for example, this clip has a resolution of 1080. Recent files you've worked on. Playlist is where you can put a bunch of source files to work with in your project. Timeline is where we spend a lot of time working on your project. Filters, where you can add video and audio effects. Keyframes, where you can change a filter over time. So you can zoom in on a picture, and with a keyframe you can make it a gradual zoom in over time. History of recent files you worked with. Export, when you're ready to export your project into a finished video file. And jobs that are running once you run the export. You can also undock a tool and drag it to a different panel. If we look at the left panel, right now there's 4 tools on top of each other, and you switch between the tools by clicking on the tabs at the bottom. You can also drag the tabs to put it in any order you want. Let's close a couple of the tools that we're not using right now. We'll click on the X in the upper right hand corner. Let's also close the playlist. So now we have 2 tools docked on top of each other in the left panel. If you go to the upper right hand corner and you click the box to the left, that will undock the tool. You can drag it to a different panel, and the gray color you see is where the panel will dock if you let go. If we go back to the left panel, if we move it towards the top and let go, you can have 2 tools stacked on top of each other. So now we have properties and filters, and there's no tabs at the bottom because they're both displayed. If we undock it again, we start to drag it to the right. If we let go here, we can also stack them next to each other. So we have filters tool and properties tool stacked left and right. So I'm going to undock it one more time and put it back to its original where it's on top of each other. Let's drag this window size over a bit. And then now you have the 2 tools on top of each other in the left panel. So what I like to do is have a starting point as my standard layout. I keep properties and filters on the left side. I keep the audio peak meter on the right side, and I keep the timeline at the bottom. That's my standard layout. When I do need to use the other tools, I'll generally put the playlist on the left panel. Keyframes I'll put at the bottom panel stacked to the right. Export I'll put on the left panel. And jobs I'll put on the right panel. That's my second standard layout. Let's take a quick look at this new feature that was released in Shotcut in September 2020 called Stock Layouts. It gives you the ability to switch between certain predefined layouts for your screen. There's a logging mode that covers playlist and recent source files, editing, which I use the most, FX, which stands for effects, to work with filters, color, which gives you a more detailed view on your color waveforms, audio, that does a similar deeper dive on the audio spectrum, and a player mode, which gives you a convenient way to play back your file in a larger screen. The majority of the time, I keep mine in editing mode. Topic 4, video editing. To do the video editing, we'll use the timeline tool and the timeline toolbar. The first thing is that you can work with clips directly. If we click and hold clip 2 and drag it to the right, it slides it along the timeline. If we put the playhead here and press play, in this midsection the screen turns black because there's no video. If we hold our mouse on the left side of a clip, it turns green. If we click and hold and drag it to the right, it'll trim the beginning of the clip. If we go to the right side, there's a red line that does the same thing to trim the end of the clip. Let's go ahead and trim the right side of both clips. We'll trim clip 1 as well, make it shorter. And if we right click in the middle, there's a remove option that'll remove the blank space and put the clips together. Let's take a look next at the toolbar. If we click on the first button, we receive an option with menus and submenus. The first one is add an audio track, where you can add a track that's dedicated just to sound files. Next, you can add a video track at the top. And if you have a current track selected, the next option to insert a track will insert a track directly above the one you have selected. Let's now add a music audio file to our project. From File Explorer, we'll drag it into the source preview. Then we'll click on the track we want to add it to, audio track, and hit the plus button to append that track and add the audio file. If we click here in the name, we can rename the track. Okay, let's say for our project we want to play the clips back to back first, clip 1 and clip 2, and then after that we want to show both clips on the screen at the same time, arranged into windows. So let's start by moving clip 1 and clip 2 from the bottom track to the top track. We can click on clip 1 to select it, and then we can see in the toolbar there's a cut, a copy, and a paste. Let's click on copy, then we have to select the destination track we want to paste it to. Let's hit paste and see what happens. Okay, so it pasted it where the playhead was. Now that's not quite what we want, but it'll show us the difference between paste and append. If we click append, it adds it to the end of the track. So let's keep going. We'll grab clip 2, we'll hit copy, select track 1, append. Now that'll be our back-to-back playing of the clips. Then we want to put the two stacked on top of each other, where we'll play them at the same time in resized windows. So grab clip 1 again, copy, append, grab clip 2, copy. Now this time we want to paste it here, so I'm going to use the arrows to put the playhead in this spot. Then I'm going to select track 2 and I'm going to use the paste button. On the right of the toolbar we can see there's a zoom out icon and a zoom in icon, which changes the zoom level for the timeline. There's also a slider bar you can use. And they added a new button in September 2020, which is very nice, zoom to fit. If you click it, it fits the width of your project in the timeline. Okay, I'm going to scroll over. Now we're finished with the original copies of clip 1 and clip 2, so we can delete them. If we click on clip 1 and select it, the first way you can delete something is this minus button. It's called a ripple delete. That means when we delete clip 1, anything to the right is going to shift over. So we click the button, and you can see clip 2 move to the left. Let's undo that. The second way you can delete something, let's reselect clip 1. It's called a lift. So if we click this lift button, it just removes that clip without shifting anything over to the right. Okay, let's undo that. Then a third way you can delete it, which is just going to do the same thing, is the delete key on your keyboard does the same thing as the lift. So if I click the delete key on my keyboard, it also deletes it as a lift. Okay, I'm going to undo that again because I want to show you something else with delete. If we select clip 1 and we hit the minus button for a ripple delete, we know that the clips to the right will shift over. There's another button on the toolbar called ripple edit. If we turn it on, not only is clip 1 going to delete and the pieces to the right shift over, it's going to delete the same piece on all the tracks. So clip 1, this piece will be deleted. On the audio file, this will be broken here and that'll be deleted. So let's take a look. Let's go ahead and hit that now with ripple all tracks on. Okay, you can see everything shifted over. So let me undo that. It also works in the same way if I slide this over. Okay, if you do a remove, so I still have ripple all tracks on, I'm going to click remove. Watch the rest of the tracks. This track used to be further over and then it now got clipped as well, and this file got broken and that little piece removed. So let's undo that. Let's also undo the shift over. So you have to be very careful. I will warn you, this is useful, but the most common way I've messed up my files are I turn this on and I forget it's on, and then I start editing one track and it chops up the rest of the tracks. So my advice is only turn it on when you need it, and once you use it, turn it back off. Okay, I think we're finished demonstrating how to delete things, so we can go back and delete the original copies of clip 1 and 2 for real. And I just want to pause for one moment to explain something. You might be wondering, when you have one clip directly on top of another clip, what does the software do? Well, if you picture someone looking down at the tracks from above, if the top clip completely fills the screen, you won't be able to see the clip beneath it. To illustrate that, let's take a look. If we add a filter to the top clip and we change the size and position. So let's do left top 60%, and then we take the bottom track, we do the same thing, add a filter. We're going to use size and position. Let's do right bottom 60%. Okay, now we can see what happened. The top track is the top layer. If the top track completely fills the screen, you won't be able to see the layers beneath it. While we're here on the left, there's a few more buttons that you can use. There's a picture of an eye. If you click it, it will show or hide the track, and that's another way that you'd be able to display the tracks beneath it. There's also a mute and unmute button, and then there's a lock that would prevent you from making edits to the track. So let's now finish looking at the toolbar. This next button is called Split at the Playhead. So this is our playhead here, and we can take a clip such as this one. Let's say we want to cut it right there. I'm going to slide the playhead over. We need to select this track, and then if we click Split at the Playhead, we move the playhead back over out of the way, we can see it cut it into 2 clips. So you can now work with these 2 clips independently. For us, for right now, I think we don't need that little piece, so let's go ahead and lift it. The next button here is called Toggle Snapping, and to me you always want to keep that on. If you turn it off, I'll show you what it does. If we take this clip and slide it, it doesn't automatically snap to the playhead or to the clip next to it. So I think you always want to leave that on, and then it basically will snap once you get close. If we slide this over, it went over and grabbed that piece. Okay, last 2 buttons. This one is called Scrub While Dragging. If we turn it on and we start to drag a clip, it keeps the playhead at the beginning of the clip while you're dragging. That doesn't really seem to help me too much, so I don't use that button. And finally, we have Ripple Trim. If we turn that on and we trim a clip, so if I go here, if it turns red, I'm at the end of that clip. If it turns green, I'm at the beginning of the next one. So I'm going to grab the red end, start to trim by pulling left. You can see the next clip also moves with it. That's the difference between moving with it and without, is that button. It's another one that I don't use too often, but you might find an instance where you'd want it. Topic 5, Transitions and Fade In, Fade Out. So let's start with fade in and fade out. If you put your mouse in the upper left corner of a video clip, this black circle appears, and if you click and hold it and drag it to the right, it adds a fade in to the video. So if we hit play now, you can see it starts out black and then fades in to give you this cool starting effect to play your video. If we click on the clip and look at it in the filter tool, we can see Shotcut automatically added a fade in video and a fade in audio, and it shows you the amount of time for the fade in. You can adjust the time either by clicking the black circle and dragging it, or you can adjust it directly in the filter by hitting the plus and the minus button. Okay, let's go ahead and add a fade out. Works the same way on the end of the clip, and then we'll add a couple for clip number 2 as well. And we'll just adjust this time a little bit. So let's put the playhead back to the start and let's play the clip. So you can see the fade in from black in clip 1, fade out, and then the same thing in clip 2. Okay, if we go over to the clip, we can also see there's an option on the video side for fade in video, fade out video for adjust opacity. But to be able to see the change in opacity, we're going to need a different color underneath this video clip. So let's go ahead and add a color. We'll hit open other color, and we'll go into colors more later, but we'll just go and stick one in now so we can see the change in opacity. So that's in the source file. I'll click on video clip 1 at the bottom, hit append, and that now adds this color layer. Just drag it over to fill the clip. Okay, so if we now click on clip 1, let's go ahead and set the change in opacity for both the fade in video and the fade out video, and let's replay the clip. So now you'll see instead of a fade in for black, it's going to change the opacity and show the green color layer that's beneath it. clip 2, it's still fade in black because we didn't change that clip. Okay, last thing on fade in and fade outs. You can also apply fade in and fade outs to the sound file. Let's go ahead and clip this to get rid of the extra sound on the right. Lift that. And if you grab the corner of the clip here, you can do the same thing on the audio track and add a fade in, fade out. Let's now look at transitions. We'll add a transition here between clip 1 and clip 2. To make room, let's select clip 1 and we'll remove the fade out. And grab clip 2 and we'll remove the fade in. Okay, we have a clean break between clip 1 and clip 2. To create a transition, all we need to do is get the red line, the end of clip 1, and drag it over into clip 2. And Shotcut will create this purple box, which is a transition. And we can adjust the width. There we go. And now we have a transition. If we play it, you can see here it does a blend between clip 1 and clip 2. Now the Shotcut gives you some pretty cool options for the transition. By default it gives you a dissolve, but you can pick whatever you want. They give you several options and you can switch between them and pick a different transition that you like. Let's try one more. Let's try iris circle. And they give you a few different options with it. You can also adjust the softness. If we put it to 0, then it makes a hard edge between the transition, and you can set it whichever way you like. And I'm just going to clean up our project a little bit for the next topic. I'll take out the color. I'm going to remove the fade in on the audio file. I'm going to reset the fade in at opacity for 1 second on the clip. Topic 6, adding text. Let's start by inserting a couple of tracks at the top. We'll add our text to these tracks so the text is in the top layer in front of the video. I'll just drag this up a little bit. Okay, I'm going to cover 3 different ways that you can use to add text to your project. The first way is we can go to Open Other and select Text. Shotcut is going to add a color box, but it will be a transparent color box, and Shotcut will add the text simple filter to it. Now the screen looks a little odd right now, but it's just the text was added as a preview in the Source tab, so we still need to add it to the project. We can select Track 1, hit the Append button, move the playhead over, and now we can see the text. If we select this transparent color box, we can see Text Simple was a filter that was added. Let's just grab and drag this across so the text will be visible across the project. For the Text Simple filter, we update the text in the Filter panel. We can update the font. And we can change the font color. There's a separate color for the outline, which right now is black, and you can change the thickness of the outline. I'm going to set ours to 2. You can also change the background color. Right now it's transparent, but you can give it a color. And you can also change the opacity of the background color, or any of the colors. It doesn't say opacity, it's called alpha channel, and 255 is 0% opacity, but if you reduce the number, then the background begins to turn slightly transparent. The background color only seems to be on the text, so we can add some spaces to make it wider. We can also change the position. We'll make the vertical fit to the top, and we'll scoot it up just a little bit. The second way you can add text is to use the Text Rich filter. This is a new filter that was added in September 2020, and it replaced the text HTML filter. If we select it, we can see it's a little more user-friendly, and it lets you type on the screen. We can set the font. We can change the text color. Let's resize the window a bit. We'll drag it down. Okay, you can center the text, and it also has a background color you can set. We'll set it to the same opacity. One difference we'll notice between the two filters are the text rich filter does not have an outline color in the way that the text simple filter does. But we could get creative, and if we look here, there's a copy button that's used to copy the filters from one object to another object. It'll copy all filters that are in this box. We could also copy that filter to itself. So right now we have the transparent color box, which has two text filters. I copied it. Now if I hit paste, we get a copy of both filters. If we just delete this text simple and we modify these text rich filters, this is the first copy. Let's go in and change that color to black. Alright, and on the second copy, let's get rid of the background color so we don't double it. You can just set opacity to 1, it'll be gone. And then on the second filter, if we drag this up like so, and then take a look at how it came out, we could do something like that where we have two colors split on the text. Okay, the third way that we can add text to the project is simply to bring in a picture that contains text. So let's grab this JPEG file, and let's select track 2, hit the plus button, and now we added that picture to the project. So it's in the middle of the screen. Let's select that picture, add a filter to it. We'll grab size and position, then we can click and drag this down. Okay, there you have it. That's the 3 ways we're covering that we can add text to the project. The third way is a picture. I made that file in Canva. You could use Microsoft Word or anything else that makes text. The disadvantage to adding a picture is, of course, you cannot make any edits. It's only a picture. So it's not my preferred way, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that piece. And then let's select this. That's our transparent color box. It's got the text filters. Between this text and this one, I sort of like the top one better. So I'm just going to turn off these filters and we'll leave the text simple. And there's our text title for the project. Topic 7, shapes and colors. We have 2 main options to add shapes to the project. We can either add a picture of a shape, or we can put color on the screen and add a mask filter to cover up some of the color and leave the shape remaining. Let's look at the picture option first. I usually use a picture if it's a more complicated shape. For example, if we want a red circle on the screen, you have to pick a file that's transparent. That's the source preview. Let's go ahead and add that to this track. Then all we have to do is add size position filter, make it smaller. We can drag it wherever it needs to go. And then if you had a crowd of people and you want to draw a circle around one person, you could do it that way. If you otherwise just have a basic shape like a rectangle, something like that, then I usually add a color box and then add a mask filter to create the shape. Let's say we want to cut back this edge of the orange rectangle, but we don't want to move the text. Well, right now that orange rectangle is a background color on the text filter. Since we can't cut the edge in, we can remove it and then manually create the orange rectangle shape. Let's click on the background, and there's no transparent reset button, but we can turn the opacity down to 1 and then it's completely transparent and the color disappears. Then what we can do is go ahead and hit Open Other, Color. Let's select the color we want. And then that's the preview in the source pane. Now we can add that color box to track 2. And let's go ahead and extend it all the way through. But we can apply a mask filter to change the shape. So we'll select Mask, Simple Shape. And the mask filter shows up with its default settings. Right now it's Overwrite Rectangle. We can see from Overwrite there's also a Subtract option if you want to cut out a rectangle. Let's put that back to Overwrite. They give you a few shapes. There's also ellipse, triangle, diamond. And as a quick side note, if you need a perfect circle, the easier way to do it, there's a crop circle filter. Let's turn mask off. And we'll grab crop circle, set it to transparent, and you can change the size. Alright, let's go back to mask simple shape. From there, you can change the position and the width, the height, rotation, and the softness of the edge. Let's set this to 0, and let's change the width. We want it the width of the screen. Looks like that's 50%. And we want to bring this up higher. Looks like about 8% does it. And there we have it. Let's add a couple more. First, let's get rid of this track. It's still blank. We haven't used it. Now let's insert a new track at the top. And we're going to insert another color. Let's pick this hunter green. Let's reduce the opacity. 255 is full, where it's not transparent at all. Let's reduce it to 125. We'll select this top track and hit the plus button. Let's extend it across. And there's our transparent green. So let's go ahead and add that mask filter. Alright, so this time instead of overwriting, let's subtract. So we'll reduce the softness down to 0. Let's go ahead and make the width just a little bit less than the screen. So let's try 47. And we want the height extend it all the way up. So we'll make it 50. Okay, that's our green edge borders. Okay, last one. Let's add a red border that goes around our title. Now let's insert a track. And I'll just drag that up a little bit. Let's go ahead and add a color. And we'll use mask to add the border. Okay, that's our preview. Add that to our file. So we'll switch to the Filters tab, hit the plus button, and this time we're going to add 2 levels of mask. So set the softness to 0. Alright, we need to raise this up. Let's put it at about 8. Then we're going to set the width. I want it a little bit more narrow than the full width of the screen, so it's flush with the borders. Now we need to add a second level. So you can add the same filter more than once. Or this time we're going to use subtract. So we can subtract out the middle and create a border. Okay, we'll move this up where we can see it. We need to increase the width, but keep it a little bit more narrow than the orange rectangle so that it'll create the edge. And increase this height. And our border is complete. Topic 8, Video Effects, Size, Mask, and Special Effects. So effects are called filters in Shotcut. And if we slide over here, they can be added at the clip level, such as size and position just for that clip, or you can add them at the track level and it'll apply to everything in the track. If we go over here into the filter tool, press the plus button to add a filter, we can see there's audio filters, there's video filters, and if you select the star next to a filter, it'll add it to your list of favorites. You can select one clip, go to the top of the filters and hit this copy button. It'll copy all the filters from that clip. You can select a different clip and hit the paste button to paste the filters over. So now we can see this text simple got copied over to the new clip. And to delete a filter, you just hit the minus button. Let's select this clip and work with the size and position filter. First, we'll hit the minus button to start over, then we'll hit plus, size and position. Now this is new. In September 2020, Shotcut combined what was two filters, size and position and rotate and scale, into one filter. We can work over here and resize, we can move, we can rotate, or we can work over here. We can select from a preset value, we can pick bottom right. You can use a mouse scroll wheel to change the position, the size, the zoom. These buttons will reset to the original value, or you can click this to reset everything by picking default. Okay, let's do bottom left 78%. Let's move this a little bit up and let's slide this over. Then let's take the second clip and let's set it parallel to it. We'll go 78%. Slide it up a little bit and move it over. This blank space gave us a cool black border. Let's say we want to run that down the center of the screen. Let's hide this track so we can work with the bottom layer, and let's add the mask filter. And we'll set softness to 0. Okay, we already covered mask in the shapes topic of this video, so the main thing I want to say is the two options I use are overwrite or subtract. We want to use subtract in this case to remove the left side of the video, and then we just have to fix the shape. And we'll bring up the height. Okay, then we select clip 1. Let's unhide and show that track, and then we'll add mask to this clip as well. And again, softness 0. Subtract. Slide this over a bit, and we'll bring up the height. And there we have it, using size and mask. Okay, while we have this clip selected, I want to show you something. It's not on the Filters tab. If we click Properties, you can change the speed playback of a clip. So right now it's on 1, which is normal speed, but if I change it to 0.5, it'll play the clip back at half speed, and it'll take twice as long to play the clip. And if you had a person talking on the clip and you did not hit pitch correction, they would have that slow motion low sound. Alright, we don't need it right now, so I'm going to hit undo and put this back to the way it was. Okay, let's move the playhead over here and select this video clip. Let's take a look at a couple example special effect filters. So here's everything I have in favorites right now. We can select vignette. That makes a black circular edge, and you can change the settings. We can turn that off and try another one. This is posterize, gives it kind of a poster feel effect look. There's another one that's sort of similar to that. Dither is something similar. You can play with the settings. So a lot of cool filters that you can experiment with. Topic 9. Video effects, color corrections, and black and white. For color corrections, let's look at this clip at the beginning of this video in its current draft. We'll hit the plus button, add the color grading filter, and we'll add hue, lightness, saturation. First, let's make the video slightly lighter. The first way we can do that is to turn up the lightness in this filter. The second way we can do it, we'll reset that, is in the color grading filter. There's 3 tools: shadows, midtones, and highlights. We can just take this bar and turn the highlights up just a little bit. I think that looks about right. And then for color corrections, I usually only adjust the midtones, and if the picture looks maybe slightly bluish, about this color, then I'll just start clicking in the opposite direction to reduce that color a little bit. And then we'll just kind of round those numbers out. And that looks about right. So this is before, and this is after. Next, we'll click back on the second filter and see if the video needs any increase in saturation. We turn it up a bit, but I don't think it really needs an adjustment, so I'll reset it. Okay, last thing, if you have a color video and you want to make it black and white, all you have to do is take the saturation and set it to 0, and then your video is now in black and white. Topic 10, audio effects. To demonstrate how to use audio effects, let's take a look at this project where I recorded 5 tracks to make a recording of the song O Come, All Ye Faithful. But first, we'll need to turn off some stuff to reduce the amount of lag so that we can play the video in the project. Let's start by turning the visibility off for the 3 backing tracks. Then let's also turn the green screen chroma key off for guitar and for lead vocals, because that takes a lot of processing. I'm applying audio effects at the track level, so let's select the lead vocal track and take a look. The first audio effect I have on is gain volume to set the volume for the track. The next is bass treble, and we can see Shotcut just has a basic bass, middle, treble EQ. If you wanted something more detailed, you could do your audio editing in an external application like Audacity, but for me, I usually just use this. Next is reverb. Shotcut has some presets, but the only one I've used is maybe Quick Fix. Otherwise, you can set your own values and then you can save them and give them a name. Here I'm using these values for my reverb, and the only thing I would change at that point is adjust dampening to change the amount of reverb coming through. Last item on the track is balance. 0.50 means the channel is directly in the middle. Less than 50, you're panning the channel into the left speaker. Greater than 50, you're panning the channel to the right speaker. So for lead vocals, I have it at 54, which is panning it just a little bit to the right. But if we look at the backing tracks, I have one panned pretty far left at 0.30, and I have another one panned pretty far to the right at 0.70, and that gives it a stereo sound. Last one, I have one more audio effect applied at the output level, so this is at the master track level, and I have compressor turned on. Compression stops the audio from getting too loud by compressing the volume down during the loud parts. These are good settings to use for compression. From there, you can adjust threshold. If you turn it down, the compression kicks in sooner. Ratio, if you turn that up, it compresses the volume more. And markup gain is how much do you want to turn the volume up during the quiet parts. During playback, you can monitor how much compression kicked in on how many decibels the volume was reduced in this meter. Okay, let's go ahead and play the video back from about here. Ignore any lag, but listen to the stereo panning with headphones if you can, and watch the gain reduction on the compression.
Bendite adoremus, bendite adoremus, bendite adoremus, Dominum.
Topic 11. Using a green screen. If we record video in front of a green screen, let's resize that window, then we can use Shotcut's chroma key filter. We'll select this clip, turn it on, and it will remove the green, and you can display any background you want to. In this project, I have 5 video clips. Let's display the second layer. We've got some guitar, and let's also resize that window. And same thing, let's select that clip and turn on the chroma key. Remove that green, and then you can have any background you want. Right now it's showing this mountain lake picture, but if we hide that track, it'll show the track beneath it, and we can change the picture to a Christmas tree. Okay, to set up my green screen, I bought this green screen for $35 from Amazon. It came with 4 clamps, and the top edge has a sleeve that you can use to hang it from a rod. I also bought 2 of these floor lamps for $45 US each. I built a PVC pipe frame and hung the green screen from the top edge and secured it to the sides and the bottom using duct tape and clamps. The key to get it to work well is to have even lighting and minimize shadows. I have a ceiling fan light at the top, and I use the floor lamps on the left and the right side wrapped in wax paper. Before I start recording, I look in the viewfinder in the camera and make sure it has an even green color. Okay, let's go back to our project. Let's turn off track 2 and just look at track 1. And let's turn off size and position and look at it in full size. And then from here, let's take this clip and let's start over with chroma key. When we hit the plus button, we can see there's 2 chroma key filters to choose from, advanced and simple. We'll pick advanced because that works better for me. We hit the dropper icon and then go select the green color from the screen, and the software removes the green color. We can see the software remove most of it, but there's still some green at the bottom. The second thing to do is in these options, red, green, blue, and hue chroma intensity, the second option works better for me. and we can see the green is gone. The other choice, when you hit the dropper, instead of clicking at a single point, if you click and drag, it takes the average color from that area, and that also works better for me. Alright, we already look pretty good, probably because our green screen color was very even. But if your color wasn't perfect and you need to make adjustments, you can move these slider bars to adjust your chroma key. If you move them down, not enough green screen is taken out, and if you move them up, it may take away too much color. So we'll reset them to the defaults 20-20-20. The other thing I like to do is I've saved the best versions that worked for me in the past, and you can note these and save them as favorites too. You hit the plus button to add a preset. So 15, 12, 25 has worked well for me, but each time you use a preset, you just have to reselect the green screen color. When you look at the edges, if you still think you see any residual green, maybe just a drop here by the arm, maybe a touch by the cheek, there's one more thing you can try. Hit the plus button and select the Alpha Channel Adjust filter. When you first add it, it's making no change. When you hit the drop down, the option that works the best for me is Shave. And you can see it does just tend to shave off any little residual green that might have been left over. And you can always change the level and see how it comes out. If we hit the drop down, I don't use the middle options, but I just want to show you one other quick piece. The blur option is kind of interesting. It adds a glowing look to the person if you wanted to use it as a special effect. But for us, if we're just doing green screen, I would select the shave option. One more piece that's important to note, the background color also affects how the green screen comes out. If we scroll down, I did put one more track in this file, and if we turn off this track for the Christmas tree, I put a black and white picture underneath, and you can see some of the imperfections do start to show up if you have a lighter background. So the background that you choose, for example the Christmas picture, will affect how well the green screen comes out. Okay, let's reset this project back to its original form, and there's a couple last things I want to mention. We'll select this top track, let's turn size and position back on, and then let's turn these other video tracks on. So the bottom layer is where we have the background picture, and these top 5 tracks are the video clips where I recorded with green screen, and I have the chroma key on, and you can see the result. Because you can take all the green background out, you can overlap the video tracks and make a clone music video, which is what we have here. Then you just have to sync the tracks and drag them left and right until they're in sync for the music. Now if you record your audio and video as separate files, you will also have to sync up your audio to the video files. For me, I don't have to do this step because I'm running my condenser mic directly into the audio input in my camera, so the original audio is captured in the video file, but I still have to sync up the video files to each other. So if we were syncing up this track, it's okay to drag it left and right more at a zoomed out level, but once you get it close, make sure you zoom all the way in so that you can do the final work down here at the frame level. Click the track and drag it 1 frame to the right, drag it 2 frames to the right, listen to it, go the other direction until you have it synced up as accurately as you can. And then you can zoom back out and your file should be synced up correctly. Topic 12, Keyframes and Pan Zoom. Let's first export this project into a finished video, and we'll use the finished video to demonstrate how to use keyframes. We click the export button to make sure the export tool is visible, then click advanced. Under the video tab, we don't need to change anything. Shotcut automatically assigns the correct values when you drag your first video clip into the timeline. So for example here, the source video is recorded at a resolution of 1080. Click the codec button. Here we may want to increase the quality. The higher the percentage, the better the resolution, but also the bigger file size. I tend to find 65% is a good balance. Click the export button, name your file, and then your export job is running. Alright, let's take that finished exported video and drag it into a blank project. Shotcut will automatically insert a blank video track and add the file. And we're going to be using this keyframes tool, so I'm going to drag this window over a little bit, and we can click the video and hit the zoom to fit button. And then let's hit the plus button and go ahead and add size and position filter. And let's also zoom to fit in the keyframes tool. So keyframes gives you the ability to change a filter's value over time. For example, zoom in gradually. Okay, there's two ways to do keyframes. There's simple and advanced. Let's start with simple. Let's say we want to zoom in to 150%. The timeline panel shows you the playback of the video. The keyframes panel shows you the change in the zoom filter during the playback. By default, if we just press play, the zoom in at 150% kicks in right away at the beginning of the video. But with simple keyframes, if we drag this green line to the right, we can delay the start of the filter. So now the zoom in doesn't kick in until you hit this green bar time frame. The other thing you can do is there's this fade in tool, and if we drag it, it'll spread out the zoom in over time. So if we play it again, we can see zoom in doesn't start till the green bar, and then once we get to this green bar, it starts to do a gradual zoom in because we applied this fade in. And the end of the bar has the same tool for fade out and dragging the red line over to end the filter sooner. Okay, let's pause that. So that's the extent of what you can do with simple keyframes. You can change the starting point, a fade in, and you can have a fade out, and change the ending point of a filter. So let's go ahead and reset these, and let's look next at advanced keyframes. And let's move the playhead back to the start. Okay, this is the icon for advanced keyframes. This means that you can turn it on for this block of fields, and there's another one here that you can turn on keyframes for this field. If we go ahead and click this button, we can see that Shotcut added this new bar for advanced keyframes, and it added the first keyframe here at the start, that's the diamond shape, and it set the value to 100% zoom, the value of the filter is there. And we can add as many additional keyframe points as we want to, and change the size and position filter as many times as we want to. Okay, let's go ahead and add more keyframes and make it look like there's a camera panning and zooming during the video. Let's go to about here, and we'll click this button to add a second keyframe. And we didn't change size or zoom yet, so it'll be 100% to that point. So if we go a little bit further, this time let's go ahead and change the zoom. I'm going to resize this window, and we'll zoom in on the singer here. Let's change that back. And then we go a little bit further, about here, and then this time let's have it pan across and go to the guitar player. Alright, so then let's go a little further here, and at this point let's reset it back to its original setting, and then you can keep going. If we go here and add another keyframe, if you want to delete one, if you just right click it, there's a remove feature. So let's go back and play this now to show what it looks like. Alright, so it starts at 100% zoom, and it keeps the 100% zoom to this point. Now it's going to zoom in on the singer, because that's how we set this keyframe. Then it's going to pan to the left here, go to the guitar player, and then it's going to zoom back out. So it's a little bit kind of fast here, but you can set it any way you want to and make it look like there's a camera zoom during your video. Okay, let's put the playhead back at the start, and let's turn on this advanced keyframe for rotation. We go over here and we can see there's one keyframe bar for size and position. That's for this block up here, and now there's a second bar for rotation, which is for this keyframe over here. So let's go ahead and add some values. Let's make it plus 180. We'll set it back to 0. Let's go over here and make it minus 180, and we'll set it back to 0. Okay, let's make the track height taller so we can see it better. You can either go through this menu, or if you hold the shift key and use your mouse scroll wheel, you can just make it taller. We can see that Shotcut added lines to show when this rotation field is being increased or decreased in these keyframes. The reason there's no lines in size and position is each of those keyframes is storing 5 fields of data, so you'd need 5 lines to display the changes, and it would be a bit of a mess. Okay, if we right click the keyframe, we can see there's a keyframe type. We've been using linear. There's also a discrete value, but then it doesn't change smoothly in between the values. It'll just stay at one value and then jump. And there's also one more value, which is smooth, and if we change the keyframes to the smooth type, it just makes the path of these transitions a little more curved. Personally, I like linear the best. Okay, we can set the playhead back and hit play. And now we have two sets of keyframes going on. There's plus 180 on the rotation. I don't know that we'd keep rotation, it makes the video look a little crazy, but it's a good example to show you how you use keyframes. Thanks so much guys for checking out this tutorial. Shotcut is a great program to use to make your videos. If you liked this video, please hit the like button, and if you want to see more, please hit subscribe and the notification bell.